Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at alerts.chartguys.com. Everyone checking in on the crypto space, and we have now set our daily lower high and very quickly pulling back and looking for the higher low. So again, to just mark off our tightening range that we are forming, we form the higher low. There's our lower high. That's not as far as the bulls would like to have gotten. As far as the midway point goes, we would have needed a few more $100, but heading back down, and the bulls must hold 9,470 to remain in this tightening pattern. If you've been watching this develop over the last 2.5 weeks, it's clear that the bears are making it much easier with their drops than the bulls have it on the way up, it appears. Seems like the bears are just flick of the wrist, dropping down $500, and we're obviously not seeing that to the upside. So where we stand, we're currently seeing a bit of an oversold bounce take place because we dropped real quick. 4-hour RSI was oversold as we were still 4% above that support level. So anticipating that at the very least, a 4-hour lower high will form before we can head down to those support levels. And for bears that are looking for entries on 4-hour lower highs, as always, the 4-hour exponential moving averages are your guide to be looking for that lower high. Right now, the hourly exponential resistances are currently rejecting the price. We had one of those scenarios where we got a bear break straight into a bit of a mini short squeeze, and that's just the bears using the last of their power before the bulls push them back a bit. So on the hourly time frame, still just a lower high pattern, still exponential resistances. From this point on, what I'm watching is the daily and the 4-hour chart. That's really all I care about, because if we keep setting the 4-hour lower high and head back down, it's all about the daily support that we will be approaching. If we break daily support of 9,470, it won't be game over for the bulls, but their backs will be against the wall as far as short-term momentum, and 9,071 then becomes the most important level. With where we stand, that's still 10%. So we still need 10% more downside to break all support levels established, and that would send us towards daily oversold conditions. If those support levels break, I will personally have absolutely no interest in anything bullish unless we get oversold on the daily, the 4-hour, the hourly, the 15-minute, the 5-minute. If we get everything oversold, then I'll look to be watching the potential of a bounce play. But as of right now, it's just a battle for the weekly exponential support yet again. And the question is, can the bulls remain in this tightening range? If we can change this 4-hour trend, see it bounce, set a lower high, come back, set a higher low, and then a higher high, then we'll stay in this tightening daily range at least until the weekend, in my opinion. But the bulls have a lot of work cut out for them just to defend this support level and try and prevent from that bear break. So I would say bears have a little bit more comfort than the bulls at this point, but a 4-hour trend change puts us right back in the scenario where it's anybody's game as far as which direction we could break. Ethereum on the daily time frame has to hold 171, so 171 support. Resistance is 204, and the bulls are looking for a higher low compared to 171, and then we would have to change the daily trend for anything to be meaningful. Otherwise, the downtrend continues, but it does look like a tightening range may be forming. The 4-hour RSI got right down close to oversold as well. Just expecting a 4-hour lower high on any bounce with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So again, bulls have a lot of work to do. They have to change that 4-hour trend to even give hope of holding daily supports. And if we look at the ETH BTC chart, it's still in its equilibrium. Key resistance is 19. Key support is 1808. And watching for a break of this pattern sometime in the next 2 or 3 days. And that's going to dictate short-term direction as far as whether Ethereum is stronger or weaker than Bitcoin. Litecoin got the bear break to a lower low on the daily already. It was showing us it was the weakest name. But this bounce is taking place, and it's a decent bounce. A little bit stronger than some of the other names, but it's also coming from a weaker point. So anything under 75.96 is just a lower high on the 4-hour time frame. Just like everybody else, we'll have to change that 4-hour trend, but coming from a weaker spot, just the fact that we did drop down to a lower low, while Bitcoin and Ethereum still not close to that just yet. Key resistance on the daily, 79.06, break that level, and the bulls will start to prove something. LTC, BTC, anything on the daily under 7529 is just a lower high. We have the daily exponential resistance. It is a potential falling wedge setup where we broke support and did not see follow through. So that's what makes up a falling wedge pattern. Breaks of support with no bear follow through. And I don't even like it on the daily time frame at this point. Could draw it on the 4-hour chart. If we were going to draw our resistance line, we actually broke it. This is how I would be drawing this pattern. And there is a bit of a downward slope on that line, so it's not a descending triangle. And I don't really care about it now that I'm looking at it because we're out of that pattern at this point. So daily time frame is what I care about. And if we don't break 7,529, bulls prove nothing. If we do break that level, I'll start to get a bit interested to see if Litecoin can shift the daily momentum as far as its pairing to Bitcoin. XRP, we're looking for a daily higher low to form compared to 236. Again, tightening daily ranges on a lot of names and looking to do something similar to Ethereum as far as forming that higher low. We need the 4-hour trend change to be confident the daily higher low has been established. And at this point, anything under 276 is just a 4-hour lower high. Binance got a bear break here. So bear break of 2670, but we held the next level of 2620. So the bears are going to have to break 2620 to see any kind of convincing follow through. And if we do, then we're looking right back at the low of consolidation. And if we look at it on the 4-hour time frame, a little bit of a bounce attempt trying to take place, just looking for a 4-hour lower high, anything under 2822. Pretty much every name that we just looked at is looking for a 4-hour lower high on this bounce. The size of the bounce will determine if the bulls have enough space to try and change the trend with a higher low and higher high on the 4-hour chart, but 4-hour exponential resistances are looming on everybody we just looked at. Link USD still in its tightening range. We're scouting for a higher low compared to 211. Bulls still have a solid 10% to work with before we get to that support level, so not an immediate red flag or not an immediate risk of a bear break, I should say. And it's similar to XRP and Ethereum in the sense that we're anticipating a daily higher low and continued tightening range is likely to occur from here. So tightening ranges, 4-hour trends have to change for our daily higher lows to be established in these tightening ranges, but we're just looking for 4-hour lower highs on this initial bounce. So if we're going to see daily higher lows set, it's probably going to take 3 or 4 4-hour candlesticks to play out. And what I mean by that is we would have to see something along the lines of that. So another candle or two of bounce, then we pull back for a candle or two, then we try and see continuation. So burden of proof on the 4-hour chart is on the bulls to try and hold these daily higher lows. And if we don't, if we just see 4-hour lower highs to cool off RSI, and then we drop down to lower lows, then daily supports will start to be tested on these names. So tightening daily ranges, most likely scenario in my opinion, but some names holding up better than others as far as how much support they have to work with, and going to continue sitting on my hands and doing nothing as a trader in these tightening ranges. If I were going to do anything, it would be looking for a bearish entry on a 4-hour lower high, scouting the exponential resistance as a potential target. That's the only play that I'd be making down here. And otherwise, patiently waiting for breaks in the tightening daily ranges, and cannot, cannot stress enough how waiting for breaks in equilibriums when they get to a certain point, whether it's the monthly time frame, the weekly time frame, the daily time frame, has been such an advantage for me as a trader to not put myself in bad positions and to be very patient and to wait for the trades to come to me. So I've been watching oil just as a quick example. Oil on the weekly time frame is in an 11-month equilibrium. And we set a lower high. So all the way back here, high, low, lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low. I am waiting weeks for this to break. And I did play this playoff support, didn't hold it long enough, but it was a win trade off that support level. And now, patiently waiting for a weekly lower high to be set, a weekly higher low, and I'm looking for a break September or late September, early October of this tightening weekly range. So the point is, I'm not going to be trading oil while it's within this range. And we see it plenty of times where if we're forming an hourly equilibrium, the 5-minute time frame gets really choppy. So that's going to apply to all time frames. If we're forming a weekly equilibrium, the daily time frame can get choppy. And the last thing I want to be doing is trading in a choppy environment. I want to trade when there is clarity and when the breaks are most obvious for the bulls. That's why we wait for clear breaks, just like we did with gold, where gold on the monthly time frame was a multiple year equilibrium that broke bullish and did not look back. So we had the low, high, higher low, double top, higher low, lower high, higher low, bull break occurred, huge follow through. So that's what we want to see. everybody was watching this bull break. All the fundamental analysts, all the technical analysts went bullish gold and started talking about gold 3 months ago because that break happened. So when the patterns are that prolonged and that clear, more people act on them and they usually get more follow through. So I appreciate you watching. Do good things out there. Quickie check-ins these days because not a whole lot changes from one video to the next and everybody's doing the same thing. So that always makes an analysis pretty simple, just in terms of everybody's looking for tightening daily ranges. Everybody's currently looking for a 4-hour lower high on the bounce. And that's that. We'll end it here with a bit more Iceland footage from back when I went maybe a year ago and had some duck interactions. Last night, went out to feed the ducks their bedtime snack, and there were no ducks to be found. So I sat on the steps and sat for a while, and eventually a flock of ducks flew across the sky, and it was a beautiful thing. So they're all learning to fly now. They're bouncing around from pond to pond, splitting up. I'm seeing, 5 of them at a time, 3 of them at a time. So they're getting older and getting out on their own, and we'll see when they head south for the winter, and they'll be back. Someone will be back. Can't pass up this good of a home to raise a family. But it was really cool to watch that develop and saw them taking their first little 6 feet of flight a few days ago, but now they're full on navigating, and it's not easy to navigate where these ponds are with these trees. So they're doing these big dive bombs and pretty cool to see happen. So other than that, see you tomorrow.